This week we unpacked a topic that seems to be on the rise, and that is salespeople that are geared up with all of the right sales training, information, everything like that, but they're losing the ability to have an open conversation with a prospect. They lose that natural conversation technique that we all need to build a connection with people.
Yeah, so we unpacked what you meant specifically by that and why it's a problem. And then we got solution orientated and we talked about how we think about it, how we coach our students, provided some contrast, what we would do in place of a couple of role plays. You were the salesperson, so was I. So there should be some real clarity as to how and why there's a better way. And I look forward to the feedback from the members. Oh,
Mm.
from, sorry.
And I think the biggest thing about this is that these are the skills that you need to learn or relearn in
Yep.
order to ascend to selling to people with higher level products, solutions in higher level markets. But there's definitely a lot in this for everyone. Couple of tangents, so
Yeah.
hopefully you enjoy.
You said learn and relearn there. We do discuss learning and relearning. We also importantly discuss unlearning as well. So be really open minded would be my suggestion regarding the whole concept of learning. And we do touch on that in this call.
Perfect. Let's jump in. I had coffee with a friend this morning, and he does a bit of sales training as well. And we were talking about how everyone in the industry now is so unbelievably geared up with sales training. But one thing that we're noticing is that salespeople are so caught up in the right thing to say and the right language to use and the best way to like position this question that they're forgetting how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've had to do with increasingly more people,
Mm-hmm.
which is okay, it reminds me of a past version of myself, is they're so in their head about what to say next that they're not listening to the person
Mm-hmm.
uh, respond, that they're thinking about the next question, and they get in their head. But
Mm-hmm.
all of that leads to them not actually being able to talk to the prospect in
Mm-hmm.
any kind of natural way.
Yep. Yep.
I think that's a topic that we talk about.
All right, let's talk about it. What angle do you want to come at? I mean, I agree that's real. It's often a start point in my interactions or relationships with new students. It's a fixable problem, very fixable, but you're going to have to learn and importantly, unlearn some things as well. What angle do you want to come at this from?
Mm. Uh, let's just unpack it to
Okay,
start with, and then I think you'll talk about the way that you'll handle it. I'll talk about the way that I handle it.
great.
Um, but I think the start point is that it doesn't matter how much you know, if
Yep.
you lose that ability. And you see people, what's that curve that the sales trainers talk about, how people when they first start they make a heap of sales because when they know nothing, and then they learn a little bit and their sales dip, and the more they learn, the more they try and teach the prospect and be salesy, their sales dip. And then it's only when they start to realize that they were at their best when they weren't overthinking things and they knew very little, and then they were asking questions instead of giving statements, that their sales increase.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think this
Yeah.
is something that adds into to that as well.
It's almost like the classic bell-shaped curve. You see the meme or bell-shaped curve, obviously having the mass, the critical mass in the middle, and then you've got the outliers on either side.
Mm.
Uh, Using the example, the meme that you see is with meme imagery, you see the stupid guy
Neanderthal.
and the Neanderthal and the elite performer coming to the same conclusion. Yet you see the critical mass, you know, getting too much in their head and coming to the incorrect conclusion. So I think you're
Mm.
talking about a version of that.
So
When you, when you're
it's not a traditional bell curve, because the line will shoot up when they first start,
sure,
and then
sure,
as the education scale along the bottom goes and the earning scale on the side up, it actually dips down. So it's basically the inverse, and then it slowly comes back up. But it's the same principle. The
yeah.
person in the beginning and the person that's more advanced see the same things.
Where I was going with that was, of course, it's not a perfect analogy, but where I was going with that was when you're at the start, you're the Neanderthal, you know nothing. All you've really got is curiosity and questions, and to be present because you haven't got this pre-planned agenda. You haven't got all these, you know, canned one-liners and like contorted questions and tonality plays and all that stuff that you can often learn. So all you can do is go, so what's going on? Like keep it really, really, really dumbed down. But it's coming from a curious, present perspective and an awareness that you don't know. Then you get the example we're talking about. Then you get in your head with all that stuff we talk about and it gets all contrived. And then the final destination, mastery, it's like Socrates. I'm going to bring up my favorite philosopher, Socrates. His famous line was, I know nothing. you come full circle and you're like, I accept as a start point, I know nothing. So what's going on? How can we help? You're back to the same conclusion. Is that a fair representation of what you're saying?
Yeah, very much so.
Yep. Yep.
Very much so. And I think
So
it's just you everyone has learned so many different sales structures, and I think there's one in particular that the further I get along, the more I realize it was the most famous four-letter one. The more I realized that the majority of people that learned that, I don't actually think it helped them. I think they think it did. And then you can hear in the calls when they say that. Now, there are obviously people that got to that elite tier and
sure.
morphed themselves into it. But I think a lot of people got lost in that middle ground of the pauses and the canned
Sure.
questions and all of that sort of stuff. But you can see it. What I'm doing now is I'm having to, not in every situation, but in increasingly number of situations, untrain really awkward and uncomfortable stuff and just treat them or teach them how to be a human again.
Yeah. But there was a reason I said before there are solutions, but the solutions involve unlearning what you're referring to right now as much as learning. So
It's
we're in
even,
agreement.
for the first time, I'll talk about jujitsu rather than you bringing it up, but we've had some new guys join the club in probably the last 3 weeks, and they are strong guys. They've trained for a year elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then some of the younger white belts in our gym, you watch them and they'll come to me after a roll and say, what did that guy, what was that? And I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just like a bully choke. You'll never submit anyone that's just dumb stuff they do at other clubs. They won't be doing it in a month. Like, they'll see it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
they've come in and they don't really understand why it works or what it works. So they're just doing dumb things thinking it works, but it's
Yeah.
not actually helping them.
Yeah. So what's the take home message? I think I have an idea as to what it is, but what you said you've been actively having conversations about this. You've been actively helping people. I think.
Mm-hmm.
What conclusion have you got in simplistic terms? What's going on and what's the solution? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's the problem and what's the solution in simplistic terms?
Mm-hmm. So the problem is that salespeople on a call, they're not actually on the call. They're in their mind thinking about what they're going to ask next. And
Yep.
they have 5 or 6 different questions that they know, that they've rehearsed, that they're
Yep.
thinking, oh, which one of those am I going to ask next? As opposed to listening to what the prospect's saying and
Yep.
following that bouncing ball and just having an honest conversation. And the solution is to let go of sales training for a short period of time and just practice being yourself. And the approach that I use is I'll always just say it's the same process. Like, let's pretend that you and I just hopped on a sales call,
Mm-hmm.
not on a sales call, just on a phone call. We're friends. We're going to have a chat. And
Yep.
you said, "Hey, James, how you going?" And I said, yeah, I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
How are you?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say?
I'd say all right or not all right because I know you pretty well, and your tone is telling me things are not great, James. What's going on, my friend?
Mm, well, work's a bit rough at the moment, not going really well. And things at home aren't perfect, but
All right.
uh,
As a friend, you want to talk about it, or you got this?
right there. So this is the exercise that I do with them. And the first few questions, you were straight into it, obviously. But the
Yeah.
first few questions you hear them, they're like, "Oh, and how does that make you feel?"
Oh
Instead
Jesus.
of just like, "No, no, no, no. What would you say as a friend?" And then
Yep.
we do this for, 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then I'll go back and I'll say, let's go back to these 3 questions that you asked me. So see how there was no hesitation. You didn't you didn't you didn't do anything. You just
Yep.
flowed with it. And they said, yeah. And I said, is that how you would talk to a friend? Yeah.
Yep.
That's what we need to be doing on sales
Sure.
calls. We can't be doing these pauses and over things. So
Sure.
then we will real world things outside of sales and then just get them drilling, talking to a friend on different conversations.
Yep. 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 Very, very, very true. And see how I got your permission as well. Like I didn't just assume that you wanted to hear my opinion or that you wanted to bare your soul to me because had I made that assumption, that could have been totally, you might not have been ready for that. Or you might not, I might think we have that dynamic, but you might not feel it. And now I'm
Mm.
making you feel even more uncomfortable. And like, we're just not in a good place. You'll start getting defensive, clam up, change the subject. I'm not helping you. The conversation's weird now. Like it's just, we're not moving forward. You talk about forward momentum all the time. We've lost real forward momentum in this conversation. So, this is one thing I've learned in my personal life as well, but also on sales calls. If I'm going to share my opinion or offer a suggestion or even offer to help, before I actually do that, I ask them if they want that or they prefer that to not. Because some people just want to feel heard, but don't necessarily want to go into solution mode yet. It's too raw. They just they just need to bare their soul or let it out. But they're not yet ready to go solution mode. If you start hammering them with solutions, it's just it's not going to work. It's going to get weird. So that was why the first question I asked is, I'm not sure the exact wording, but it was basically, you want to talk about it as a friend, or have you got this for now, or should we put this off for another day, if at all? Whatever. I give you choice, but I'll let you know I'm here if you want me. But I'm also not pushing my agenda either. You tell me how I can best help you as a friend, and then you will either ask for my help or you'll say, no, we're good now, but I might call you a bit later today when I've cooled down a bit. Okay, cool. Whatever you need. If you want to talk about it now or in 10 minutes or in an hour, I'm here. Thanks for that. And maybe just that alone, you're like, you know what? I can talk about it now. I go, you sure? You don't have to. Like, I'm happy to speak in 2 hours. No, let's talk about it now. Cool. What's going on?
Yep. Uh, I feel like in this, we could seemingly have been harsh, but this is something that I'm seeing everywhere. So many people are, especially young salespeople, or not even that, people that have invested a whole ton in training. There are so many different options. They're thinking their way through it. It's becoming so much more common, because I think when we joined the remote sales space, there was, some people going through that program, and then that was about it. Whereas now everyone's done 2, 3, 4 different programs, and
Yep.
everything has the right way or the only way. No one really teaches them how to think.
Sure. No one?
Very few.
Anyone in particular teach them how to think?
Oh, I hate TSP. True Sales Pro is a pretty good program for that, but
Oh, you're too kind. I would never have thought you would suggest my program would be the one to teach you to think.
oh, that's your program. Oh, how convenient.
um, yeah. Look, here's what I think is the problem in simplistic terms. From a tense perspective, the salesperson is too focused on future. What am I going to say next? As opposed to present. What's happening? What do I need to do? How do I make them feel heard and understood? And be there and take and build on, read the room. Basically, there's such a lack of, when someone's got this problem, there's such a lack of building their next question or comment or response on the foundation of everything that's come before it. That's when you get those really awkward things like, so James, how you going? Oh, my dog died this morning. So great, let's jump into the call. Did you not hear what he just said? I mean, that's a caricature version, but like what that represents happens all the time.
I have a perfect example of that. And I might have mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I was working with one fellow, and I said, hey, just send me across your sales call. And he was just learning about how to ask high level prospects about success. And it was an investment opportunity. I think it was trading. And he had the guy on the line, might have been late 50s, early 60s. This guy had been doing it for ages. And he was just talking, and he got him talking to his credit. And then this guy was just saying, how he wants to do this. He's okay at doing it. But the reason he wants to get really high level help is he just wants to create that generational wealth for his family. And then the next question was, cool. So, if you were to work with us, and then he went into a success question. And I recorded that little bit of the call and I sent it to him. I was like, I want you to listen back to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, that guy right there, what does generational wealth mean to him? That's the sale. And did he not have money when he was growing up and he didn't want them to experience it? Did he have money? He lost everything. Now he wants to get it back. The whole story is there, and you missed it because you were thinking about the next question as opposed to the goal that was just said.
Why don't we role play that quickly to show our viewers who may not know how to handle that, how you would handle it. So you've asked me that question. You can be the sales guy, as always, unscripted. So you can be the sales guy. You've just said to me, what does it mean to you? And I've just said, oh, listen, James, I'm all about generational wealth. Like everything I'm doing now is all about generational wealth. How do you?
Generational wealth. Okay. I got to ask, because, everything means different things to different people. What does generational wealth mean to you?
Yep. So first thing you do is clarify. Exactly. Because as you said in your question, the context that you gave with the question is the reason why we do it. Generational wealth can mean completely different things to completely different people. You've seen my work in Guatemala, and in Guatemala, generational wealth is a really big thing, like multi-generational businesses, like even hundreds of years. I don't see that much in Australia. It exists, but I don't see it nearly as much.
Generational wealth in Australia, like if you want generational wealth, you need like tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah. It's not as
sometimes hundreds.
It exists, but I see it way more in Latin America. So often, if you're talking generational wealth in Latin America, it's more from a custodian point of view. Like, I'm the ninth generation. I'm not going to be the generation to like screw it up. Whereas in Australia, maybe, they're like, I come from a working class family and I don't want my kids to grow up the way I grew up. I'm starting the generational wealth. Like, so there's so many different ways it can be. So first thing, as you correctly did, is you want to clarify, what do you mean by generational wealth, which you correctly did. I explained to you, what I mean is I grew up poor, James, working class. I got 2 kids now, and look, I just don't want them to have any of the struggles that I have. So I've already bought 3 houses in the last 5 years, and the plan is to have 10 properties in the next 10 years, and that'll create passive income for my retirement, and it'll also be accruing in value. And when I go, my kids will get 5 properties each, and they'll be set up no matter what. I don't want to rob them of their hunger, but I absolutely want to have an underpinning security that's there in the background. That means that they can pursue what they want to do, not what they have to do, or not what they're forced to do. So that's what I mean by generational wealth, James. Pretty good explanation. What would be your next question today? If I said something like that, what would you then say on the back of that?
There would be 2 directions I would go. One, I would give him massive props for everything that he's done, make him feel competent, and then just say, hey, if you're doing all of
Make me
that.
feel heard, understood, respected as well by doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, make me feel good. Make me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you've already achieved all of that by yourself, and obviously, if you've done that amount in the last 5 years, you're able to do a lot in the next, 10 to 15. What's the main reason that you're engaging with us? What are you hoping that we'd be able to help with that you can't already do? And then the other thing I would circle back to is, you mentioned earlier that you don't want your kids to have the experiences that you did. You don't have to share if you don't want to, but I'm curious, what were the kind of experiences that you had that you don't want them to have?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I would probably just add one. I would do the same thing. I'd probably just add one more thing to that. You said I'm curious. I do a version of this all the time on the Peter calls. I get a sense sometimes there's like a real backstory, and I put that in. I'm like, I always compliment them first, like you did to me. Hey, congratulations! But I'm like, hey, I get the feeling the fact that you're in your 60s and you're still like stepping on the gas. I get the feeling there's a backstory there. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but is there a story there? And if so, are you open to sharing it? Because I'd love to hear it if there is one. They always open up. And then you get the reason. Hey, I was adopted as a kid. I felt unloved and grew up poor, and my brother picked on me, and I decided I was not going to be a victim. So I self-educated and I worked 3 jobs and blah, 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 blah. Everything I'm doing is based on that feeling of hopelessness that I never want to feel again. And more importantly, I never want my kids to feel. Bang, got it. There's meat on the bone. There's feeling, there's real emotion, there's spark. You will get an answer like that if that answer lives there and you ask it right. You're getting a sale if you're getting that sort of buy-in. 9 times out of 10, you're getting a sale when you get a prospect to that point on a call. Now, to tie it in with the whole concept of this call, you don't do that if you're not present. You're focused on future. What am I going to ask next? And you're focused on your pre-planned, pre-scripted questions or canned one-liners or whatever, as opposed to, what's this person saying and what do they mean by it and why does it matter and how can I take that and either ask a question to expand on it further or to build on top of that so that we keep that forward momentum. You miss all that. So in the end, you have a really low level, low pixelated, often inappropriate, lacking in value conversation. And then you get the, all sounds good, James, let me think about it, I'll be sure I'll get back to you. And then you go into canned objection handling techniques and you wonder why it doesn't work and you hate selling. Those things don't exist in our world. Why? Because we have real conversations with real people and we get on the front foot regarding things that can create objections rather than passively wait and hope they don't come up later in the call and often trigger them because we didn't do things right earlier in the call.
One thing I again, sales trainers just say, don't do this. I will cut off a prospect and correct a prospect if they've said something about us that is misaligned. So if they've just said, yeah, I heard that so-and-so told me that you guys are able to do this and I love that. And then they change the topic, even if it's not a core part of the sale, I'll just say, hey, just quickly, you mentioned this. I really want to clarify. That's close, but this is actually the case here. Yep. And every time, but maybe once or twice I've done that in the last 12 months, people are like, oh, thank you for clarifying that actually. Yes. And people that I've had, 2 or 3 calls with, or even, distributors that we might be working with, they'll just say, that's exactly why we want to work with you. Like, yes. I know that sounds really made up that people would say that. They'd be like, no. That right there, that's the honesty that we're looking for.
Well, honesty is the biggest currency you have as a salesperson. And you you should be using it all the time.
Mm.
Uh, why? Because it appeals to their self-interest and it appeals to yours. It should appeal to yours as well. The only thing I'd add, again, I'm just going to add one little bit to what you did then as to the difference as to how I do it, is I always add a question at the end, and maybe you do that too, which would be, knowing that's the case, acknowledging the difference or the change. Does that change anything? Still interested or no longer interested? Like, what are your thoughts when you hear that? I always add a question at the end.
Mm.
Almost always will you get a positive response. And if not, great. Well, let's talk about why this no longer
Perfect.
works.
Let's unpack that before it becomes
Let's
a
unpack
problem.
that. Let's
And
unpack.
don't hope. It's like objections. Don't hope that they don't bring it up. You bring it up, and you control the narrative. But
Yep.
even kind of doubling down on that, we'll tangent for a second. I was on the call with a I don't know how to explain it. Just kind of like a guy that I send a lot of work to. He's in an adjacent business, and we were having a chat about how the world revolves still around referrals, and the conversation we were having was that, even 5 years ago, people were able to get away with a lot of really high level ads and marketing and content now, and I think people would buy into that a lot more. However, what's happened since is that the world has gone from just being able to buy off the marketing, the ads and everything like that. And now the world is really much turned back to social proof and who you know. And if you look at it from a business sense, so the chiller company that we're doing, our top of funnel is ads that show proof that we can do what we say we can do, but they're all reels that people will find us, obviously through the algorithm. But then our middle of funnel is more content showing that we know what we're talking about, as well as social proof. And the bottom of funnel is a phone call with us or me. But then the other thing that I'm noticing, even the guy that we're speaking to that's starting up a business that we service in Sydney, I sent him a message because I connected him with the other really good players that he needs to be involved with. And he said the same thing a bunch of people are saying, like, yeah, we asked around about you guys, and we spoke to a heap of people. It's all been really glowing reviews. So now it's kind of circled back to that who you know and what people say about you outside of the internet as well. And I think that all compounds back onto, one, you being honest, but two, you being able to have honest, genuine conversations with people. Because if he
Sure.
went to someone and is like, oh, that dude's really weird, he's awkward to talk to, he asked me all of these salesy questions,
Mm.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, so we're in agreement. So I agree it's a real problem out there, with the initial premise. I see it all the time. I think people are misguided, and it's often not their fault. They're young and inexperienced. Certain gurus and certain high profile figures can be pretty captivating when you don't know any better. Um, but it's a problem, which hopefully we've provided some solutions to fix, if you
What
like.
is, so I mapped out my way that I will kind of talk people through it.
Yep.
What's your approach?
I contrast. So I normally get them to role play a situation or walk me through a situation doing what they're doing. And then I take that same situation and show them what I would do in place of that. And then we can hold the two up. And then I ask them a couple of key questions. If you were on the receiving end of this, which of the two would make you feel more heard and understood? The answer is always my way. Which of the two is more likely to get the truth and promote a real conversation? Again, all the answers here are going to be my way. Which of the two is going to trigger less resistance and less, concern or caution? I do a version of that. That helps them see that helps them see and feel the difference. It makes the penny drop, and then the next question becomes, well, how can I learn to do that? And then we're into how now. So they're sold on the what, I guess you could say, and I guess by extension the why behind the what. Now it's just, well, how can I learn to do my version of that? And then we just walk them through the steps.
Mm.
So I love
Yeah.
contrast. Contrast is such a powerful mechanism for learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Same. But
Yep.
I have them actually go through, and then
Yeah.
with conversations again outside of what sales are or whatever they're selling or whatever they feel they need to know.
Yep.
Then the layer beyond that is,
Yep.
once I get them talking, I will then
Yep.
say, hey, pick a niche that you've never sold. And then we'll
Yep.
pick 3 or 4 different niches. Great. We're going to start a sales call, and
Yep.
we're just going to have a conversation about something that they know nothing about. So then they have to forget that, oh, I know everything. I need to ask the right questions to have them lead towards this. And it's just like, oh, I need to just talk.
Yep. Yep. Let's we did a role play before where you were the salesperson. Why don't we demonstrate what I just said a minute ago? So I'll go salesperson this time.
Mhm.
Do you want to give a scenario where someone said a turn of phrase or asked a question or whatever? It triggered the issue that you've brought to today's call,
Mm,
and then I'll go how I would handle it, and you feel free to show how you would handle it if it's any different.
mm,
And hopefully we can talk about the differences and contrasts, and the viewers can make a decision
mm.
which.
So one thing that I did recently was actually last night. We did a role play, and the thing that we picked was just relationship coaching, and that was purely because we were talking to someone that sells the marriage coaching,
Mhm.
and I can actually bring it up. There was the list of the three things that the prospect said to start with,
Right.
and then you can kind of just map it out. And give me 1 second, I'll just bring it up. Um, the exact scenario. Cool. So pretend we've got a prospect on the phone, and he's just said, the beginning question, what's going on in your world, da 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 da. Things are going pretty bad in the relationship, not getting along with the partner.
Mhm.
Don't know why it's happening. It was always the
Mhm.
same, and then it changed.
Yep. Yep. Okay. How do they respond to that?
Uh, One, anxiety and stress because of the pressure of the role play, but two, uh, what's going on? This was the linear of how do we follow it. And the first thing
Yep.
was things are going bad in the relationship. So when you said that,
Yep.
what did you mean?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I can talk about what I would do there, but what I was hoping to do with this was to hear an inappropriate response, drawing from their focus too much on
Oh,
what they're
so uh,
focused, and I can do a contrast as to what I would say in place of that.
perfect. So things are going bad in a relationship. What does that mean? And then the response from the prospect was, we always have arguments out of nowhere. Can't really agree on opinions. And then the
Yep.
salesperson in this situation just said, okay, how does that make you feel?
Mm, All right. So say to me, okay, cool. So can you say to me again what the prospects said, and then I'll jump in.
Things are going bad in the relationship. We always have arguments out of nowhere. We just can't agree on opinions.
Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing that. Can I ask you about those arguments and where you guys go and how that plays out and how often they are and all that sort of stuff? You open to going there as a start point, James?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great, great. Well, let's start with I guess longevity. Like how long's this been going on? And then I guess the next question would be how often does it happen? Let's start there.
Mm, Probably about a year, and
Yep,
the arguments are most days.
most days. So it's a daily thing more or less,
Yeah.
right? On the increase, on the decrease, holding steady. Like what's going on that front?
It increased over the last year, but it's been pretty consistent now. I just feel like it's all the time. Just can't really agree on opinions
Yep.
or really anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to come to the content of what you guys argue over in a minute. So we will come back to that. You said it started about a year ago. Did something significantly change a year ago that triggered this? Do you have a read on that? Or is it obvious to you what happened then?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't, or I can't put my finger on anything that just happened. And I think we
Yep.
just had an argument, and then I thought we solved that, and then we had another argument, and then it kind of just slowly increased. And I
Right.
definitely know that I'm not innocent in all of this. I would have been doing things and instigating things for sure, but I,
Yep.
I can't put my finger on anything.
Is there an underlying sort of energy or philosophy that you feel is underpinning this? Like she's angry at you because of XYZ and that's the catalyst of every argument, or vice versa? Or like, is there some sort of theme that you feel is running through these arguments? Does it keep coming back a certain issue, or what's your read when I ask a question like that?
Nothing in particular, but it just gotten to the point where I feel like I can't really do anything right. I don't really want to have a conversation with her anymore,
Yeah.
uh, because I just know it's going to end in an argument, and I will have done something wrong again.
Yep.
Uh, but they
Yep.
still happen.
You got about a year's worth of data now, I guess. If I were to say to you, James, what would be the most likely thing you'll argue, and you're arguing daily as well, based on what you told me. If I were to say to you, James, you're going to have another argument later today, because statistically that happens, what would be the most likely thing you'd argue about?
Mm, Probably money.
Okay, and that would that be initiated by you or by her, more often than not?
Um, well, I suppose both. Work's obviously not great at the moment, and whenever I talk about that, it's just, well, you've got to stay there because we need the money, and we still don't have enough of it, and that job doesn't pay enough anyway. We can't afford to lose it. Just, that sort of thing.
Right, right. Stop there, because we keep going, of
Yeah,
course. But how did that feel from your end? Talk
natural,
about how that
normal.
felt.
It was a great conversation. You cared.
And you can see I was present. Every question I asked was built on what had come before it. I got permission and buy-in before I asked you to go vulnerable and open up, and didn't just assume that just because you're on a call, you're happy to tell me ins and outs.
Mm.
Don't make that assumption,
And the
guys.
other thing as well, this is the big thing that I
Yep,
noticed. It didn't feel like a counseling session. Like, oh,
yep,
okay. You were just
yep.
upbeat, chatting, just like, hey, let's have a chat about this conversation.
Yeah, so we play that out for another 3, 5 minutes. I don't know. I'm pretty confident that not just me, but also you as well, because at the moment you don't know why you're arguing. If I'm taking you on face value and you're being honest, it's very possible, even probable, if I'm really, really good at this, that more often than not, if your start point is, I don't know why this is happening, if I ask the right questions the right way at the right time and then challenge your answers and keep building on that, it's very, very likely, even probable, that more often than not, you'll have very important realizations yourself and then new moments of clarity on the back of that, as will I, because I'm hearing it too. And then that takes us to a completely different place.
Mhm.
And I then become very, very valuable to you, not because of things I told you, but because I helped you go on a journey that led you to that discovery, which makes me very high value to you and very credible, and trusted, respected on the back of that if it's handled right. Like, what a place to be as a salesperson. And there's such foreign words to hear for so many salespeople based on their selling experience. There was no pushiness. There was no obviously I wasn't reading a script. There was no pre-planned canned one-liners.
Mhm.
You know, it was just an honest, well-intended, in-the-pocket, present conversation. Focus was on you, not on me. I didn't talk about our features and benefits. I didn't once talk about how I felt either. Oh, I can totally understand that. That must be terrible. I didn't do any fake stuff like that. I didn't say stuff like, oh, my girlfriend treats me like that too. Like, you don't care about that. You're not on the call to hear about me and my life. Like, why are you making it about you? So there's so much that was going on there. For those that are watching, guys, that's what pretty much every one of James and my sales calls look like. Like, obviously adapted to the audience and the service we're offering, but the spirit and philosophy and energy and intent is exactly what you saw in James's role play earlier and on my one just then.
Mm. And I think to tie this into something else, if your sales call finishes where the prospect wouldn't be comfortable to take another phone call from you in the future, if
Yep.
you've made them feel uncomfortable, if you've asked the canned questions, if you've tried to push them
Yep.
into a corner, you've gone about it the wrong way. And I think
Yep.
all of this comes together. If this guy ultimately couldn't buy on the call, uh,
Yep.
and the salesperson being you would call in a month just to see where they're at. They said, let's
Mm,
reconnect in a month and I'll be able to do it
mm,
then. Cool. That's fantastic. You've done well. And
mm-hmm.
that for me, at least, is a big marker of, yeah, I did things well on the call. And I
Sure.
think this is just it's not how you finish the call. It's how you conduct yourself the whole call.
Sure. Absolutely. This whole buy or die, like this whole concept of buy, they either buy or they hang up on you. I mean, I'm not calling out any names, but I'd be
I
very,
know what you're talking about. I remember the post,
I'd be
and
very, I'd be
you
very
wouldn't
cool.
get off the phone until they were hung up on.
I'd be very cautious learning for somebody that teaches that philosophy. If you want to pigeonhole yourself as a low value salesperson that can only sell low value offerings to unsophisticated audiences that you can manipulate, yeah, no worries. But if your aspirations and your morals take you to a different place, like, be very careful.
Yeah. And I think selling someone else's products in a faceless business is a lot easier to do it if you were selling your own product to your market that you'd worked hard to build a brand in.
Yeah.
Those things don't transfer over. It's
No,
just not there.
no, no, not at all. Not at all. I did 2 deals this morning before breakfast. I'm in Australia right now. So when I'm in Australia, that means getting up at 2 a.m. and taking calls from about 2:33 a.m. I did 2 calls back to back today in 1 hour, 70K US times 2, 140K sold in 1 hour. Very high level people. One guy is doing a multi-billion dollar transaction for his company as we speak. That stuff doesn't work with crowds like that. What does work, though, is what we displayed in our 2 role plays: being present, being focused on them, getting permission, getting buy-in, asking well thought out questions, taking them on a discovery, helping them feel heard, understood. They have options. You're an ally, not a foe. And then we're looking for clarity. And clarity absolutely might be, hey, I don't need to fix this, or I don't need to fix it with you guys, or I've got a better option. It may be that, but it also might be the opposite. Hey, this sucks. I need to fix it. I want help to fix it. I really like your approach. I really want your help. If you have me, I'd love your help. and that's when they ask to buy from you, which is what happened on my 2 calls this morning. And even if they didn't buy, we weren't hanging up on each other, and the door would have stayed open. Like, life's way too short to be in a world where that's not the outcome from your sales calls, either a sale or leaving on good terms with respect and dignity.
Yep. Well, I think this is a good place to wrap it up. This was a fun one.
It was a fun one, and there was a lot of role playing in that one too. So in the comments, because we don't do that many role plays, if this approach maybe is interesting and helpful, like, let us know, and we can tap into this a little bit more of its of value and interesting and fun. It is for me. I love impromptu role plays. It's a bit like sparring. Here you go. I'm going to bring up jiu-jitsu. It's a bit like it's fun learning jiu-jitsu, but it's even more fun when the teacher says, "All right, sparring time at the end," and you got to think in real time and test yourself. It's fun, dynamic.
The question: do you guys want to do some positional rounds or open rounds? Like, come on,
Yeah, you don't even need to ask a question. Is that a rhetorical? Yeah. Very good. Good call, James. Hope you enjoyed that. That was fun for me too.
Likewise. And I'll see you on the next one.
See you next week.